Yo, welcome back to SeaBed. Last time, it's always hard finding my correct save file. Okay, here. Last time, Sachiko got examined by her, and it seems like she's doing worse than I expected. She's like not even sure when Takako even really disappeared, and it seems like the people at the office have different ideas of when she disappeared, even though she never explicitly asked. And then we had a flashback with the Clover. And then she went to the library to buy some books, and for some reason the librarian had a sprite, which is interesting. Yeah, I think that was it. I did spend a couple, like 15 minutes at the end of the last episode, going back in previous scenes trying to see if there was some fuckery going on, but I didn't. It seems like both of the other people at the office did acknowledge Takako existed in the scenes where she was there. So I'm unsure right now. But yeah, we're back at the clinic now, it seems. Please tell me that you asked Fumi, or you like looked into when Takako actually disappeared. Narasaki, please. Oh wait, I gotta put. There we go. Oh. No, back. Okay, there we go. 2 days later, I ended up finishing my work early, so I told Fumi and the others that I had a little errand to run and went straight to the clinic. Upon telling Narasaki about it, she asked me if everything was okay with work, adding that it must be a hassle to jump through all those hoops. I'm extremely curious what's going on with the 4th employee. Like, what was her name? I had it written down somewhere. Anne. They call her Anne, or her full name is Annalise. What's up with Anne? Because she's never at the office, and even here, you said you told Fumi. Okay, you said Fumi and the others. Okay, so does that include Anne? Was Anne there? I can't exactly tell everyone that I'm leaving early because I suspect I'm going mad and need to have my head checked. Let me lower the volume a bit. While I understand your circumstances, it's pretty common in this field. I'd also prefer to keep this from my regular clients. Have I not told you before? That's why I wanted to discuss this with you in private. Really? I looked at Narasaki's desk. It had a bundle of medical records on it. Beyond that, on the wall, I spotted a green board with some memos, a couple of landscape pictures, and a small calendar pinned on it. The calendar had a picture of a turbulent-looking sea on it. Sea? It seemed dangerous to swim in. The entire scenery was dominated by the color blue. Even the cliffs in the distance seemed somewhat affected, resembling massive icebergs. The days below the picture were circled. They had all sorts of errands and what were most likely appointments written around them. Can you tell me what date it is? What year? Did you find something interesting? Narasaki addressed me while jotting something down to my medical record. Yeah, I was wondering, how long have you been working here? I'm approaching my 3rd year as a practicing physician. 3rd year, huh? Before that, I worked at a different clinic. I considered her white coat, trying to imagine her usual day here. Which one of your past patients left the biggest impression? Narasaki seemed to freeze for a moment. Uh-oh. Was it the fucking foreign Ben guy? She then answered that there were many, seemingly trying to avoid the subject. Okay. Sore point, I guess, there. Realizing that it was probably a thoughtless question, I decided not to prod further. I shifted my gaze from Narasaki and looked around the consultation room. All kinds of bottles with English labels lined the medicine shelf, neatly locked behind its glass door. As I absentmindedly gazed at the graded beaker, I realized that it went out of focus with all the little blue lines on it blurring together. Are you passing out? I rubbed my right eye. You seem tired. I pulled a late shift yesterday. I returned my gaze to Narasaki. She slightly turned her chair towards me. Are you getting enough sleep lately? Work's a bit frantic these days. I'm handling twice my usual workload. That sound good? I know. The brunt of the work is already finished. All that's left is to organize everything. So you're saying the worst part is already over? Yes. Well, be careful. A vacation does little good if you only end up ruining your health through overworking. I know that. Do you have any plans to go somewhere? Not really. I see. You only went because of Takako. Narasaki took a breath and spun her pen around the thumb of her right hand. She likes doing that. She did that last time as well. Was that a cat? I felt as though I heard a cat mewing in the distance. I strained my ears, only to hear another clear meow from the direction of the small window. Are there 2 spaces here? It seems like a bigger gap. Imagine it's walking along the fence behind the building. I see them here sometimes. There sometimes. Narasaki fell silent as I stared at the window. We remained completely silent, but no other meows followed. The window itself was similar to the kind that tends to be in bathrooms. When I thought about it, this room suddenly started feeling very small. You usually have people in this room that tend to say some off-kilter things, right? Right. Narasaki looked behind her, allowing her gaze to travel across the entire room before it finally stopped on me again. What is she doing? Do you not like have important stuff to tell us? It's pretty small, isn't it? Lately, I've heard how other doctors try to make their consultation room look as spacious as possible and use brightly colored wallpapers to lessen the stress of the patients. It doesn't seem like you're doing that. I don't have the funds. Besides, this place is small, but it feels kinda isolated from the rest of the building, right? I feel it might help some patients to relax and talk instead. I think I like it this way too. Glad to hear that. Narasaki made a satisfied smile. Did you take those pictures? No, I just stuck on a bunch of photos I like. Okay. That's the Blue Grotto. Is it from the island we went to? Oh, I didn't even know that. You seem well informed. I've been to it. We went to all sorts of places with Takako. Such as? Okay, wait. When she says, did you take those pictures? What is she looking at? Because we're talking about her room, or like her office. And then she randomly says... I don't know, sorry. I'm mixing... I did the thing I said at the beginning again. I'm mixing up who's saying what. Sachiko is saying this, but she's also saying the thing about Takako. Okay. So you just happen to have a picture of the place that was on the deserted island that you went to with Takako? That seems extremely... extremely unlikely, but... Okay. Such as? That seemed to pique Narasaki's interest. It felt more like I was chatting with a friend at a cafe rather than having an actual medical examination or anything of the sort. Narasaki kept asking questions about my past, from my club activities at school to all the trips I had over the years. I told her everything I could remember, trying to be as brief and on point as possible. Narasaki wrote everything down, her right coat swaying as her hand danced across the pages of the white paper. She would also jot down some notes to my medical record once in a while. When I told Narasaki about how Takako found a printing error on a winning candy stick and the woman selling them had to fix it with a marker, she once again added a note to my medical record. What? After heaving a brief sigh, I took a sip of coffee to have a break from all the talking. Any new problems since your last appointment? I told her about how I saw Takako at the office after discussing vacation plans with Fumi. Narasaki wrote something down in my medical record again. Squeezed under it, I saw a medical examination paper with all sorts of numbers printed out on it. It looked like it could have been my blood test. Aren't those the results of my previous examination? Narasaki followed my gaze and, spotting the paper, gave me a nod. Did you find anything out? I wanted to know if she had come any closer to elucidating the cause. Of course I did. Narasaki pulled the paper out and placed it on top of the medical record. For starters, it doesn't seem like your condition is physical. She explained, tracing the top line of the result with her fingers. According to your test results, your physical health is in perfect order. All your blood values are normal and we found no drugs in your system. According to the written test you took, it doesn't seem like your intellect is impaired in any way either. And finally, from reactions to my question during our conversation, I'd say schizophrenia can also be safely ruled out. How would you determine that from a conversation? I'm not a psychologist, but it seems like you would need more than like 1 or 2 conversations to figure that out. Then what is causing this? It's most likely something psychogenic. I'd guess something along the lines of a strong mental trauma or chronic stress. Or perhaps both, she added. I tried to consider both possibilities. I was busy with work, but I didn't have any severe problems. If anything, my company was on the rise. My personal life had grown quite lonely without Takako, but it wasn't to the extent that I lost sleep thinking about it. I also couldn't think of any particular stressful or shocking situations I might have been exposed to, not in my private life and not at work either. Okay, so did you actually look into what happened to Takako? Because I'm sorry to harp back to this, but this should be like your #1 priority. Because it's not just us, other people are also having different thoughts about what happened with Takako, right? With Fumi and with Inukai. So did you just like, can you just like call the police department, say, hey, do you have records of a missing person named Takako? Like, just anything? Any ideas, Narasaki asked? Or, I only said about the police department thing because apparently we don't want to talk to Fumi, but we could just ask Fumi, again, as I've said multiple times. I kept thinking for a few more moments, then answered in the negative. Or Takako's parents, or anyone. Narasaki nodded and leaned against the chair. Is something the matter? I imagine it's most likely that you've forgotten the cause. I'm not trying to sound like I know everything about you, but from what you've told me so far, I can't think of a more likely cause than Takako's disappearance. Besides, you told me you couldn't recall the details surrounding it. So both the ringing in my ears and hallucinations are caused by that? Did Takako actually disappear, or did she just die, by the way? Did you just like get hit by a car and it was so traumatic that you just like erased your memories of it or something? I'm not sure about the ringing, but it would be natural to assume that your hallucinations of Takako are. I've already thought of that possibility. Or did she drown maybe? Well, it would make sense if she drowned, because like all the reference to the sea and to water and the whole bit with her like wearing the fucking fish plate around her neck while she goes swimming could be foreshadowing to that. Takako's disappearance left a deep wound in my heart, and I was chronically exhausted from trying to manage my life and work without her. But I never faced that pain. Instead, I made up another Takako in my mind to distract myself from it. It seems like you were thinking something along those lines yourself. Indeed I was. It was natural for her to assume the same. Still, I wasn't sure why, but I felt that something was off about that train of thought. As I fell silent, Narasaki parted her lips and uttered the brief phrase, "Everything has a reason or a cause," similarly muttering to herself. This doesn't seem like a very scientific diagram, but I glanced at the medical record in Narasaki's hands. It had a cause and symptoms written down on some sort of diagram-looking thing. You still can't remember anything about how she disappeared? No. To tell the truth, I've tried investigating reports about people who disappeared abroad over the past 2 years, but I couldn't find a single article on your friend. Just ask! Just ask anyone! Just ask literally anyone! What do you mean? You mean she hasn't disappeared? I don't know. Maybe there was simply no article written. Narasaki paused. I tried remembering my last trip with Takako, but my memories remained shrouded by a thick fog. I can try bringing those memories to the surface through hypnotherapy. Shut the fuck up. What do you mean hypnotherapy? Hypnotherapy? You mean hypnosis? Like with a swing, coin and everything? Yeah, sure, why not? I could use a coin if you insist. I think I'm gonna go to the hospital down the street. I don't know if I really... Can you show me where you got your certificate, please? Where you got your doctor's license? Narasaki pulled one of her drawers open and picked up a 5 yen coin from all the change scattered on the pen tray inside it. You can do that? The effectiveness varies drastically from person to person, but I've done hypnotherapy before. If Takako's disappearance really is the cause of your hallucinations, we might get a hint that could help with your recovery, provided you remember how it all happened. Yeah, this seems easier than, like, phoning up Takako's parents. Yeah, sure, why not? As I stared at the sizable coin on the desk, Narasaki placed her hand on it. But first, I'd like to confirm that you actually want to get rid of the hallucinations. As I gave Narasaki a puzzled look, she explained that my symptoms were slightly different from all the other patients she had dealt with. What's so different about me? The difference is that your symptoms don't seem to affect your life in any negative way, at least as far as I can tell. What do you mean? I mean, doesn't the ringing seems to be pretty bad, right? What do you think are the main problems with hallucinations? I cocked my head to the side. For example, let's say a patient keeps seeing bugs crawling on the walls or crazed killers chasing them through the streets. That causes them to get startled or even start running even when nothing is really happening. If that keeps happening periodically, well, you can imagine how it might become difficult to lead a normal life. That's what I meant by negative effects. However, in your case, it sounds like you spent at least 2 years leading an ordinary life despite your condition. That's true. Also, not only did you not realize there was something wrong with you for 2 years, but neither did your acquaintances. I don't believe a massive difference in perception such as seeing a person who's not there could go unnoticed for long. As I've explained, hallucinations are false information interpreted by your mind as genuine. When you're looking at Takako, your eyes should be fixed on an empty space. When you hear her speak, you react to sounds that aren't there. Do you think no one would have noticed that for 2 whole years? Especially when you actually have conversations with her. Okay, this is kind of like getting back on something I was talking about last time. Like, if she's talking to Takako and she's hallucinating that, why is no one in her life being like, hey, why do you keep talking to yourself? Like, she had a point. Now that I thought about it, my 2 colleagues seemingly showed no sense of finding anything wrong with my behavior. Until 2 days ago, when Fumi was like, hey, why are you talking to yourself? Narasaki regarded me in silence. I realized that Narasaki had not seen me act that way either, and according to her, there were no physical factors that could have caused me to act this way either. From her position, it might even be plausible that I was making all of this up. I'm not lying. I know that. I know you. You're not the kind to make up things like that. Narasaki's expression turns somewhat more mellow. Well, I suppose it's possible you simply never had any conversations with Takako when the other 2 were present. But she did. She explicitly did. We saw those scenes. That can be true. I have memories of all 4 of us talking. Yeah, there we go. Wait, all 4? Okay, yeah, all 4, yeah. I may have been having conversations with her, but they certainly couldn't have. In that case, perhaps you act normally when you're in front of them, the way you would if you understood that Takako was gone. That's wrong, because Fumi just saw us talking to herself. I don't know. Are you saying my memories are incorrect? Most likely, in your head, there's a delusion that Takako is still with you, and it keeps overriding your real memories. Nah, it's probably just a parallel universe or something. I considered Narasaki's words for a while, with my gaze fixed on the floor. Soon enough, I heard her shirt creak, which made me raise my face again. So let me repeat myself. Are you sure you want to get rid of those hallucinations, even though they don't seem to interfere with your normal life? Okay, I'm not an expert, but is this really the kind of thing you should be asking as a psychologist? This doesn't seem very appropriate. She continued without waiting for my answer. For example, there are people with alleged psychic powers that can see ghosts and auras around people. Shut up. From the perspective of psychiatry, that's a condition that should be looked at, but from their perspective, it's not something they necessarily want to be cured of. That's because neither of those cause severe problems during their normal lives. In a way, your situation is similar. Inside you, there seems to exist both the office without Takako that you share with your colleagues, and an alternate one with her that you keep to yourself. Besides, I couldn't find anything physically wrong with you either. But there's also the possibility this thing might go away on its own eventually. I felt like making a sigh, but I held it in. Still, if there's anything that can help cure me, I want to try it. I'd rather not want to worry about suddenly starting to talk about things that don't make sense to my colleagues, and seeing things that no one else does kind of weirds me out. Narasaki broke her gaze as she fell in thought for a few moments, then looked back at me. Over that time, the pen in her right hand moved from between her thumb and an index finger, traveling all the way to her pinky in wide arcs and returning to its former position the same way, almost like someone had rewound a tape. Rewound? Well, it's not like everyone always sees the same things anyway. Why do you not want us to? Why do you want us to keep hallucinating? Why are you trying to like convince us? I furrowed my brows, unable to understand what Narasaki meant. When I was a kid, I told a friend that the flower she drew in an arts class had weird colors. My friends thought those colors were beautiful. Her flower mainly used rich colors like red, blue, and purple. But for whatever reason, she used achromatic colors like brown and gray to color a few parts of it. It honestly looked pretty creepy to me. But to my friend, who likely possessed a different interpretation of colors, it looked very charming. Narasaki looked around and pointed at a decorative strawberry on her table. Strawberries again. For example, we can both agree that this strawberry is red, but what if the red we're seeing is a different red? Ooh. However, there's no way to tell if the reds you and I see are the same. Wow, you're the first person to ever think of that, I think. There's no way to express such a difference in words, and it causes no misunderstandings either. I think you're losing me. What do you mean she's losing you? This is this is the most simple thing. Huh, really? Maybe you need to take that intelligence test again. I returned home, took a shower, and ate yesterday's potato salad leftovers for dinner. Then I slumped down into the sofa and began watching TV. The news commentator kept babbling on about unrelated things instead of introducing the actual news. I kept absent-mindedly staring at the screen, and as I hadn't really paid attention to all the details of what happened and why, I realized I only remembered the opinion of the experts it brought in. I began my search for a less tiring program, and after a bit of flipping through channels, settled on the weather broadcast. I thought about my time in the clinic. Narasaki told me that she needed some preparations for the hypnotherapy. Okay, so you're doing it. So I was sent home right after the explanation of my test results. Give it some thought before our next appointment. According to Narasaki, I'd forgotten the very thing that caused me to hallucinate. But that and my memory loss was apparently some sort of self-defense mechanism against a mental trauma. Takako's disappearance was so shocking it made me forget how it even happened. If the hallucinations were simply caused by not having Takako in my life anymore, time could easily solve the issue. Still, shock and stress being the cause just didn't sound right to me. Takako was the most important person in my life. I'd do anything if there was a way to make her come back, but neither she nor I could have wished for nonsense like this. Oh, new music, I think. As I returned to the clinic, I found Narasaki staring at her notebook. What are you reading? She gave me a glance and said, it's a record of some of my old patients. As I sat down, Narasaki closed her notebook and stuffed it into a drawer. You said my hallucinations were special, but how do people normally start seeing them? Narasaki answered with an aloof, Many hypotheses exist that pertain to hallucinations, but there's still a lot we don't know. The most accepted one is the dopamine hypothesis. Your nervous cells secrete too much dopamine in the synapses, and it makes the electrical impulses in your brain go haywire, showing you hallucinations. You know, I've never had visual hallucinations, but I do have, like, auditory hallucinations pretty often. I don't know if... I think this is not that weird. Like, it's relatively normal, but I often just, like, hear, like, someone, like, shouting my name, or just, like, someone saying my name when it's completely silent. Or just, like, hearing, like, loud noises sometimes. But it only happens when there's nothing else happening, like, when it's super quiet. Yeah, I don't know. There's another hypothesis that hallucinations occur when your self-awareness drops. When you wake up in the morning, sometimes there's a short period where you don't remember who you are, right? It's something like that, basically. The hypothesis states that you lose the ability to differentiate between things happening in reality and things happening inside your head. Well, those are the most common cases anyway. How do you treat them? In both cases, you've got to do away with the cause first. There are many things that can cause dopamine excess, but in most cases, it's induced by drugs. Most of the time, you can take care of that by simply taking medicine with dopamine antagonists. As for the drop of self-awareness, it's usually the result of stress after a strong mental trauma. In that case, you'd first have to elucidate the concrete cause and solve it for the patient. Sounds pretty complicated. Don't worry about it. Your case is different, and besides, you can leave all the complicated stuff to me. Just lay on the table and get hypnotized. Narasaki gave me a smile. I wonder if determining the cause will also make my hallucinations disappear. Everything has a cause and a reason. We'll start from clarifying those. Everything had a reason. It was something I heard Narasaki say before. Actually, I think I'd heard her say something along those lines multiple times, and I agree with the idea. I think my symptoms have a reason too. I told Narasaki what I've been thinking about since last night. I think I've mistaken the date of Takako's disappearance to make sense of why they'd both be in the office at the same time. I've mistaken the date of Takako's disappearance to make sense of why. Who is they? You mean Takako and Inukai? Okay, that has to be it. But I'm still not sure why my hallucinations happened in the first place. Even if her disappearance was an incredible shock to me, I thought I'd want to deceive myself just so I wouldn't have to face it. I just wouldn't do something like that. So I want to remember what really happened and figure this thing out properly. Narasaki nodded. You might end up remembering something unpleasant though. I tried imagining what it could possibly be, but nothing came to mind. Putting that aside though, I was more scared of living my life seeing things that weren't real. If it's related to Takako, I can't allow myself to just forget it. Narasaki picked up the 5 yen coin from the desk. Are you really going to use that? Narasaki made a silent smile. She attached a piece of string to the coin. Like, you're fucking, like fucking hypno? Like, I know, like, hypnotherapy was, like, a pseudoscientific thing in, like 100 years ago, maybe. I'm, like, pretty certain it's fallen out of favor recently. And when I say recently, I mean, like, within the past 100 years. But, But even when they were doing hypnotherapy, I don't think they were using like a coin on a string, like they're a fucking cartoon villain or something. I'll use hypnosis to bring out memories from your subconsciousness to the surface. Okay. However, there's no guarantee they'll be real memories. What? There were cases when a hypnotized patient started talking about being kidnapped or aliens, or their memories from the previous life. The brain has a hard time differentiating between real memories and delusions. Okay, so let's not do this then? So if something like that happens, what are we going to do? I'll ask you questions, then I'll try my best to lead you to the answer we need while you're in an unconscious state. So it's all up to you, basically? Yep, don't worry, I'm actually pretty good at this. Are you ready? Yeah, you did really good in hypnosis class in university. I am. I sat down into a cozy armchair, almost laying down. Narasaki came closer and told me to relax. Then she told me to watch the coin. As it started to slowly sway, she began to talk. Try remembering that trip. I focused my thoughts on the last trip I had with Takako. A street paved with stones, brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. A street paved with stones, brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. I felt the nostalgic scent of a town I visited a long, long time ago. Did they say what country this was? I don't remember. Boom, 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 boom. This looks European, but I couldn't tell you what country. I'm not that good at GeoGuessr. I was walking behind Takako, who kept looking left and right. This is like a very like. I bet if you're really, really good at GeoGuessr, you could tell what country this is, though, because this seems pretty distinct. I could hear and you got like street signs and shit. I could hear the cool sound of running water as we continued down a stone-paved street surrounded by tall stone buildings. Is this like Italy? At the end of the alley, we found ourselves in a small square at the very center of the old town. There was a giant fountain there. Marble sculptures lined the wall behind the fountain with all sorts of engraving on its edge. In the center stood the ruler of the seas, Neptune, surrounded on each side by the fertility goddess Ceres and the goddess of health, Saos. I'm just gonna Google like big Neptune statue Europe. Is there anything similar? Oh, this? Is this the Fountain of Neptune in Rome? Kind of looks like it. I'm just gonna assume we're in Italy. Water flowed forth from the legs of all three, trickling down to the huge puddle below them like a waterfall. Takako already had 2 coins in her hand. This is a new outfit, I think. I hope I don't miss. What do you mean you hope you don't miss? Is it even possible with such a huge target? Just try not to hit anyone like you did at Asakusa. The small square, half of which was taken up by the fountain, was filled with people. A group of workers pulling a cart packed with large boxes. People resting on the stairs, a couple sitting on the stone handrail, seemingly more interested in each other than the fountain, and a group of tourists listening to the explanation of their guide. Takako turned her back to the fountain and tossed the coin backwards. What do you mean backwards? Oh, like, okay, I get it. The coin, painting a beautiful arc against the blue of the sky, plopped into the water, vanishing from sight. Did I get it in? As I nodded, Tako's face lit up. After taking a handful of pictures in front of the fountain, I grabbed Takako, still reluctant to leave, by the arm and left the square. Where are we going next? As we entered the alley neighboring a gelato shop. Okay, yeah, so we're in Italy. Takako placed the camera back into her bag and pulled out the tourist booklet we bought at the airport, spreading the map that she kept inside it. Then she checked the compass key holder that was attached to her bag. The main attraction today is obviously the cathedral, which is here. And we're here, which means we gotta go there. Okay. Takako showed me the map and pointed at the alley to the west. You're interested in churches and cathedrals, right? After checking out this temple and that square, we can cross the river and head for the Grand Cathedral. Takako pointed at the pictures in the booklet as we walked. I heard a rattling sound from behind the corner next to the shoe store. Whoa! Oh. Takako jumped out of the way of a yellow tricycle that suddenly appeared. Did she actually get hit by a car? The tricycle, its cargo box filled with red and pink flowers, creaked as though expressing some sort of discontent, and swiftly disappeared beyond another corner, leaving only a faint fragrance of flowers in its wake. It smells nice, Takako remarked. There were many stores in the arc-shaped alleyway, their display windows filled with a plethora of things. A wine store had a bunch of wooden boxes with bottles stacked in front of it. A confectionery had 2 transparent bags of colorful beans hanging above its door. Its orange-tinted display window was packed with 3 rows of various chocolates and candies, shaped in the form of flower and fruit. Sachi, let's hurry on to the temple. Temple? Takako, who had gotten ahead of me as I briefly halted to look at the candies, came back and clasped my hand. You're not embarrassed to hold hands? Is that even legal here? Everyone's doing it here. Remember that couple at the fountain? Those 2 were glued to each other. She pulled on my hand. Besides, we already went on a trip together. What's there to be embarrassed about? Takako let out an audible laugh. As we exited the alleyway, we found ourselves in another square with a fountain. It was surrounded by people who looked like street performers and souvenir shops that seemed to specialize in wood carvings. Turning to the right, I spotted a huge white pillar. As we continued down the bustling square while clasping each other's hands, another set of pillars appeared from the shadow of the one we saw from the distance. Whoa, it's huge! The triangle-shaped roof of the temple was supported by 16 big stone pillars. Under it, there was a long entrance with a tall ceiling that was shaped like a cylindrical dome from the outside. It's okay to go inside, right? I want to see how it looks. Takako pulled my hand towards the entrance, nimbly evading the people in the crowd. Whoa. I looked up at the dome above our heads. Unlike the entrance, there were no pillars supporting it, and I could see the blue sky peeking out from the hole in its center. I'm not sure exactly where this is. After admiring that divine-looking pillar of light, we continued toward the morning market that was mentioned in the booklet. There were no big roads that led to it, so we had to use lots of tiny alleyways between buildings. Despite getting lost a few times, we finally found our way to our destination. However, being exhausted by the long trek, we decided to first take a break at a nearby restaurant. Are these a bunch of oh no, this is Italian flags. It's just a green. With the effect they added to the picture, the green is faded out, but you can kind of see it here and here. But on this one you can't see it at all. What kind of flower do you think that is? Which one? We gazed at the market from under the white parasol lining the restaurant's terrace. There were countless wooden stands next to each other, every single one sported canvas roofs to protect them from the sun. Their assortments included food, spices, fruits, flowers, and other miscellaneous goods. There's a blue bucket with purple flowers near that stand. I'm not sure what they are, they look kind of like chrysanthemums though. Okay, this is the second time chrysanthemums have been mentioned in the story, by the way. I wonder if we have them in Japan. Remember that vegetable store from earlier? It was pretty awesome. Who would have thought there'd be so many different species of tomatoes? I wonder if they use different ones for different dishes. As we were discussing the market, the waiter approached us to take our order. Gonna order salad again? Yes. As Sakura spoke with the waiter, all the while gesturing like a crazy person, does she speak Italian? Or is she just speaking English? I glanced back at the market one more time. Looks like a festival. It's nice to see everyone running back and forth with so much energy. I wonder if it's like that every day. Oh yeah, didn't Takako have the thing when they were in France where she said a couple lines, she said hello in a couple different languages? So I guess Takako is just knows a bunch of languages, I guess. Takako said that as she finished conveying our orders. It seemed like this square has served a variety of different purposes over the years. At one point it was a field of flowers, in another period it was used to stage executions. I told her what was written on the building. Executions? You know, like flogging. I wonder if the people who came here to pick flowers ever imagined the place would end up like that. Okay, sorry, I'm confused. You told her what was written on the building. Presumably the thing that was written on the building was in Italian, right? Or in English, at least? But if you can read English or Italian, then why is Takako the one, relaying your order to the waiter? Seems kind of weird. I wonder if the people who came here to pick flowers ever imagined the place would end up like that, or if the people who were flogged here expected this area to eventually become a market. I'm not sure how that matters in any way. Takako shook her head, wolfing down the fruit she bought at the market. Try imagining someone in the distant past sitting in the same place as we do. What if that someone imagined that there would be a restaurant here, and that a woman sitting there would be thinking about them? Wouldn't that be incredible? Yeah, that would be crazy, Takako. It would have been pretty miraculous for them to imagine that some Asian girl would one day be bringing it up to her girlfriend while chewing on fruits. I'm willing to bet it's about as likely as the birth of another universe or something. The birth of another universe, you say? Really? Or rather, even less likely than that. Takako stuffed a piece of orange in her mouth and closed her eyes. Alright, now I'm thinking about two homosexual aliens from Jupiter having a picnic here after the fall of humanity, and thinking about two Asian women eating fruits at a restaurant in the very same place while they themselves snack on seaweed-filled rice balls. Okay, I gotta... Two homosexual aliens from Jupiter. Oh, okay, I see. Maybe the people who got executed here, or who got flogged here, were imagining two homosexual Asian girls sitting here, and he was imagining the two homosexual Asian girls imagining two homosexual aliens that are imagining two Asian women sitting here, eating seaweed-filled rice balls. Maybe it goes down all the way. If you skip the homosexual bit and the rice balls, you might even be right. You think it'd be as likely as the birth of a new universe? That would be nice. I hope someone builds a temple for us too if that happens. Yeah, right. I think the possibility of the current gods punishing you for these ideas is a lot higher, actually. And then Takako got hit by a car and died. Or not. We stopped in front of a panini sandwich cart that stood on the middle of a stone bridge across the river. I fucking love panini. It resembled a giant opened up umbrella with gelato, soft drinks, and all sorts of snacks lined up under it. We bought some panini and drinks and continued down the road. I still can't get used to how cheap everything is here. Takako remarked as she gobbled down her panini. Her sandwich was shaped like a cream puff with cheese, prosciutto ham, and rucola herbs. Unable to watch Takako try and fail to fit it into her mouth, the store clerk helped her crush the thing into a smaller size. That would be embarrassing. Jesus, if that was me. You want a taste? Noticing my stare, Takako offered a bite of her sandwich. I nodded and helped myself to a small portion. The bread had just the right amount of crispiness to it, with a savory smell coming from inside it, combined with the taste of ham and cheese, resulting in a truly mouth-watering culinary experience. Kinda surprised you can get something this good at that price. The restaurants we had lunch at was pretty cheap too. I wonder if it's their economy. Really? When I go to Europe, I feel like everything is so fucking expensive. Especially compared to Japan. Everything is so cheap in Japan. I mean, obviously this has to do with like Japanese economy not doing too hot right now, but even still, like I feel like eating out is just like so cheap in Japan compared to other places. Could be. I answered her as I wolfed the food down. Then I took a sip of the Coke we bought at the same store. We could save money, quit our jobs in Japan, and move here. Takako crossed the river and entered another alleyway. Was one plan for the far future. Then maybe we should move here earlier and run a shop together, like the one we just been to. You mean a cart? They had flower carts in San Francisco too. Yeah, you see them a lot overseas. Do you? I guess it's cheaper than renting out an actual building. I wonder what they do on days with bad weather. With no air conditioning, I doubt business is booming during winter. On top of that, if the wheels of the car get damaged or something, you can't sell anything until you get them fixed. Yeah, I wonder how they profit. There's no way to know unless we have the data, but given the amount of them in this town, it can't be that bad. I imagine you can insure the car too. I see. You're really business-minded, aren't you? If you're so curious, how about asking them directly? I pointed at another car shop at the road by the river. It seemed to be dealing in women's apparel, and had all sorts of clothes hung up that blocked the view. Still, I could at least spot a female customer talking with a gray-haired, middle-aged clerk. Takako looked at the cart for a while before turning back to me. It would be cool to travel around the world selling your things, but I'd rather have a proper store so I can design it the way I want. I'm sure that bothers you more than profits. Of course. In either case, we'd have to study the native language here. Yep, let's do it together, just like we did with English. I wonder if they have any... Okay, so you both know English, I guess. I wonder if they have any movies in this language. Nope, they have no movies in Italian. 0. I'm sure they do. Nope, you're wrong. The sun peeked out from between the buildings surrounding the alley, making Takako narrow her eyes. The edges of the brown-colored roofs cast many uneven shadows on the road. Ah, that arc looks pretty cute. I felt Takako's finger to see a grated window with an angel carved in the arc above it. The wall was covered in green ivy, so it gave the impression that the angel was speaking out of a forest. I wonder if some ancient artisan made it. I imagine that's the case. It's kinda cool to have so many old things remain in your town, don't you think? I bet if we moved here, we could also pretend we were living in the Middle Ages. It's all good and fine, but we should think about that after we finish paying off our loan for a 10-story apartment complex built with reinforced concrete. Oh. What? Did you buy an entire apartment complex? Wait, I'm sorry. Are you guys like landlords? Like, what's going on? Are you saying like your specific apartment, like your unit? But the way you're saying, it sounds like you bought the entire complex. These buildings look like they're made from stone. Could they be like 2,000 years old or something? That could go furrowed her brows. Maybe. It makes you think of the Three Little Pigs, doesn't it? Does it? I like cozy wooden buildings. Would you prefer to live up north then? Apparently, the northern region of this place was affected by the architecture of neighboring countries, so they've got a lot of wooden buildings there. It's written in the booklet. Isn't it like super mountainy in northern Italy? Here. She pointed at the picture of some mountain village. Yeah, it's very mountainy. Then you can make homemade panini for me. Sure, but you're making the ham. What? The ham is gonna be homemade too? Takako shrugged. We continued down the road, our shoes clicking against the mosaic-laden pavement. It's that roof, right? Should be, but it doesn't feel like we're getting any closer. We could see the bluish roof of the Grand Cathedral towering above the other buildings in the distance. Long houses with no gaps in between them littered the streets, which made it impossible to take a straight path to any one direction. It felt like we kept wandering around in circles for the last 30 minutes without ever getting closer to the roof at all. We lost sight of the roof completely after a bunch of buildings with brown roofs blocked it from view. Okay, surely this story takes place before like Google Maps was a thing, right? Because otherwise, why are you not using it? And you said earlier you had like a physical map, right? So siesta time must have begun, considering there were only a few people wandering the streets. The rest were probably taking a break or napping. As I was examining a window with sturdy-looking Venetian shutters, a tourist carriage pulled up by a horse passed by us. I'll go ask. Wait here. Uh-oh, you're gonna get run over, Takako! Takako darted after the carriage, disappearing into one of the small alleys. I hurried after her, but by the time I turned the corner, neither Takako nor the carriage were anywhere in sight. Uh-oh. I bet she got lost like a dunce. After checking my watch and realizing it had been 5 minutes since Takako disappeared, I decided there was no point in waiting any longer. I continued down the coiling stone road, using the roof of the Grand Cathedral as my landmark. I also made sure to check the booklet each time I found a significant-looking Gothic-style building or fountain. The booklet's pages seemed to look darker than before. I looked up and saw that the sun had moved to an angle where the buildings surrounding me almost completely blocked it from sight. I glanced behind me, noticing that both the road I came from and the direction I was heading in were completely devoid of people. I continued down a road full of shops with closed shutters and darkened display windows. Oh, who the fuck are you? New character. Quickening my pace, I began to draw closer to another corner. However, right before I could make the turn, a person emerged from behind it and bumped into me. Whoa, scusi. Scusi? Is this Italian? I'm sorry. You're Japanese? I looked up and saw a long-haired woman with a spirited look in her eyes. Her gaze traveled from my face to the booklet in my hands. Are you lost? She asked. These back streets are full of twisty turns and dead ends. It's kinda easy to get lost. I can show you the way out if you want. She gave me a friendly look. After I accepted her offer, she introduced herself as Fujisaka Nanae. Fujisaka Nanae. Just a random Japanese woman living in Rome. She walked a short distance ahead of me, her heels confidently clicking against the stone pavement like it was her very own backyard. You're trying to get to the Grand Cathedral, right? She's probably heading that way too. What if you can't find her there? I'll go back to the hotel. That's probably for the best, yeah. Thanks. You're a lifesaver. Hey, don't sweat it. Even I was getting a bit anxious walking around on my own. I couldn't spot much anxiety in the confident smile she gave me. Do you live here? Most of the stores and government offices close around this time, and the place turns into a ghost town. In exchange, they stay up late and get up early. Being from Japan, I still don't quite get how the economy can function like that. Fujisaka kept bringing up all sorts of subjects, most likely trying to find something that would help incite a conversation. I suppose the siesta system won't stay around if it starts seriously injuring their economy though. Yeah, and then all the Japanese will be shocked to hear that on the news. That it was a thing to begin with. Yeah, exactly. Good convo. I kept answering the questions she brought up as we walked. I myself tried asking a thing or two. Fujisaka came from the Kansai region and was a year older than me. And when you say a year older, can you say exactly how old that is, please? You were in kindergarten together? That was pretty incredible. Wait, were they? Wait. Were they? At the beginning of the story, didn't it show Takako moving here? Like, was that before kindergarten? Really? Was she that young in the intro? I guess. I don't remember. Did they say how old they were? They met when they were 5. Is that pre-kindergarten? When is kindergarten? What age is kindergarten? Around age 4 or 5. Okay, so I guess they would have been in kindergarten together. Okay. Is it? Don't you have anyone like that, Miss Fujisaka? I was brought up in a mountain town in the middle of nowhere. I had a few friends like that until middle school, but they all eventually left to live in cities. Can't blame them for wanting to get out. Fujisaka spoiled as she continued to lead me ahead. What do you do for a living, Miss Mizuno? I run a design company. Only founded it recently, though. You've got your own company? That's pretty incredible. What exactly do design companies do, anyway? We design logos for other companies, advertisement posters, packages for all sorts of goods, and so on. We deal in anything as long as it falls under designing and doesn't exceed what our capabilities allow for. Did you come here for a commission too? Not really, I just like traveling. I see. Are you also traveling, Miss Fujisaka? You seem to be used to this area. I came here to buy furniture. You know, like couches, tables, and so on. Okay, so you're insanely rich then. Do you run a furniture store? Fujisaka shook her head while looking back at me. Nah, I run an inn back home. It's a western mansion that's been around since before the war, so a lot of our things are old and need to be replaced. So you fly to Italy? That said, we can't afford to replace everything with expensive modern furniture, so I come here once in a while looking for materials to fix some of our old stuff, plus cheaper replacement for the things that are too old to do anything about. I guess this is before Amazon, so you you fucking fly to Italy to buy tools to repair furniture? Okay, sure. Can't you buy those in Japan? Yeah, you can, but it's expensive. Is it more expensive than buying the plane ticket to come here and go back? Besides, I also like traveling. Fujisaka, who is slightly taller than me, shot a brief glance my way and continued walking forward. Where is this town if you're in Kansai, exactly? It's in Hyogo. I know that is a prefecture, but I don't know my prefectures well enough to know exactly where that is. Hyogo. Wanna come visit us sometime? It's an ancient place, but you seem like the type who likes that kind of stuff. Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Fujisaka pulled out a notebook from her jeans pocket and wrote down her address and contact information. I don't have a business card. Maybe it's about time I made one. She tore out a page from her notebook and handed it to me. In that case, I might visit you during one of my business trips. Wahahaha. Hang on. I wanna... Okay. We continued down the street decorated with flower reliefs, and after passing through another narrow alleyway, found ourselves in front of a huge cathedral. Here we are. The sounds that followed us through the long alleyways was instantly dispelled by the clamor of the tourists. This was by far the biggest square I'd seen today, made even more overwhelming by the grand cathedral looming above it. This is the Central Park, says Fujisaka. A sun clock towered in the center of the stone-paved square, with a set of tall stone pillars surrounding it in a cylindrical arrangement. So I'm just adding that Fujisaka runs an inn. Didn't write that down. I wonder if your friend is here. I glanced around in all directions one more time, but to no avail. Takako is nowhere in sight. I can't see her anywhere. Let's check out the inside of the cathedral. Fujisaka started towards the giant dome. From up close, the Grand Cathedral was so overwhelming it felt almost like it could fall over and crush you. We ascended the stairs, drawing closer to the entrance supported by 8 cylindrical and 4 rectangular columns. Oh, hello. Are you hallucinating? As I passed by them, I suddenly saw a pair of green twin tails dance in the air. Okay, so Takako canonically has green hair. She said she had green twin tails. So in the story, she has green hair. Okay, sure. She canonically has green hair. Disappeared behind the humongous gates. Found her. Just as I was about to hurry after Takako, Fujisaka suddenly stopped. I guess this is goodbye then. I can't go into the cathedral dressed like this. She placed her palm on one of her sleeveless shoulders. Oh, that's way too lewd. Okay. I'd like to thank you somehow later. You're only gonna end up having to go through another adventure to find me. Rather than that, I think you should just enjoy the rest of the trip with your friend. Your friend? Yeah, my friend. Thank you very much. I don't know what I would have done without you. No prob. The way she stands reminds me of like I don't know. Like her arms are like insanely long, and her arms are like bending outwards. Like I don't know. It's just funny. I don't know what it reminds me of, but it reminds me of something, but I can't quite. What is it that this reminds me of? I was gonna say like a Danganronpa character, but that's not quite it. This reminds me of something, but I just can't place it. No problem. Anyway, you should probably hurry. I thanked Fujisaka and passed through the gates in pursuit of Takako. I took a quick glance back and saw Fujisaka waving me goodbye. If that temple we saw earlier followed a simple is best kind of philosophy, then this one seemed closer to the gorgeous is best. Various colorful and fantastical pictures decorated the walls. Everything from the pillars to even the handrails had some sort of carving on them. The pillar of lights descending from the ceiling illuminated both the statues of angels as well as the painting of Evan on the walls. Not letting my eyes linger on one spot for too long, I looked around for Takako, finally spotting her ascending the stairs under the huge dictorium. I followed after her, making my way up the spiral staircase. As I reached a veranda on the upper side of the dictorium, I ascended another small set of stairs leading further up. After going up another dark spiral staircase with no windows, I suddenly had to stop and narrow my eyes at the light coming from outside. The wind blew past my ears as I reached the outside of the dictorium. Opening my eyes, I was met by the vast, rust-colored cityscape stretching before me. I looked down at the central park and the various alleyways that Fujisaka and I traversed earlier. I guess we didn't have a picture for this one. Sachi, as I looked over that breathtaking sight, all the while struggling to hold my hair in place against a fierce wind, I heard Takako's voice from nearby. Oh, never mind, we do. It's interesting how the CG is combining both like a real photograph in the background with Takako just like standing there. Because usually when because there's a couple of VNs that have backgrounds like this that are just like touched up photographs, but usually when those VNs have CGs, they usually just either don't have CGs at all, like yeah, or they either like have the CGs be in the, like the backgrounds are going to be in a different style. They're actually going to be like painted or like drawn for the CGs. But having the CG be a photograph, but just like having Takako be drawn, I kind of like it because it makes it more coherent. Like this is the same art style that you see outside the CG as well. Like it fits, if that makes sense. I was looking for you, Sachi. Takako, her expression colored by surprise, made her way through some people in the narrow passage, and approached me. Before she could hug me, I squeezed her cheeks between my palms. And just where did you go? I kind of got disoriented after losing that carriage. And then? Okay, are you real right now? I spotted this blue bird and started following it. Before I knew it, I was in the square. What are you, Mittel? I don't get it. Did the sight of an ancient town make your brain leap into a fantasy world? I heaved a long sigh. How did you not be here? Well, you do love high places. We know each other so well, we don't even need words. I flicked her on the forehead. At least have the common decency to realize when I'm calling you an idiot. Before long, the orange of dusk completely overtook the blue sky. The town below us seemed to have regained its life as people slowly began to fill the formerly deserted squares and alleyways. All's well that ends well. Takako scratched her belly. The darkening orange of the setting sun gradually painted the brown walls and tiles a deep hue of red. Although the buildings seemed to be lined up haphazard. Google, please help me. I know this word, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Haphazardly. There we go. Below us, creating nothing sort of a maze. All the windows were perfectly designed to be on the same height. It felt as though they were forming a giant tree with numerous branches extending across the town. Okay, I guess Takako didn't die or disappear. Or did she? After looking at the Grand Cathedral and enjoying the nighttime streets for a while, we returned to the hotel. I drifted out to sleep pretty much the moment I climbed into bed, and ended up having a surprisingly vivid dream. A blonde girl in linen clothes was collecting flowers in her basket, standing in the field that would later become the market square. It all kind of reflected what Takako said back there. I continued observing her, being seemingly transparent myself. As I approached the girl to get a better look at the contents of her basket, she abruptly looked me straight in the eye, even though she wasn't supposed to see me. In that moment, the flower field disappeared as though swept away by a hurricane, turning into a field for executions. A man adamant to preach a philosophy that contradicted the tenets of the local doctrine was seized by the Inquisition and burned at the stake for refusing to renounce his beliefs. I felt as though his panicked eyes began glaring at me through the flames. The next day, I told Takako about my dream as we moved south on the high-speed railway. She said her dream had an alien instead. Were they gay? She then started describing their countless characteristics and proceeded to never shut up about it. Were they gay, though? That's the big question. Should I stop here? We haven't had like the little transition between chapters, and usually they aren't too long. Usually they've been like 30 minutes each, but this one's been going on for a while. Maybe I'm like right next to the ending, but let's keep going for a bit. The light from outside made my eyelids flutter open. You awake? Yeah. I pulled Takako's jacket close to my chest. She must have placed it on me while I slept. Takako, sitting next to me, was gazing at the clouds beyond the window. A massive mountain range stretched below them. We're almost home. What time is it? As Takako was looking for the clock, the plane speakers turned on, making an announcement in English. Takako finally pulled the clock out of her pouch. 8-ish. Have you already set it to Japanese time? Of course. I shifted my weight under the jacket and leaned against Takako's shoulder. I'll take another nap. She'll wake me up when we're about to land. Takako reassured me that she would. The last thing I saw before drifting off to sleep was the plane ticket in her hand. Okay, so we learned absolutely nothing. Okay, I'll stop here. This is like a good stopping point. We'll say what with this. I don't think this game is gonna have any choices, right? Doesn't seem so. I mean, the way that whole scene was framed makes me think that there was some hint within it relating to Takako's disappearance, but the only thing I can assume is that Sachiko never actually found Takako after she disappeared, like for a couple minutes there, and everything after that was just hallucinated. But I don't know if that really makes sense. Just like she had like a seat on the plane, and she was like holding tickets. She was like holding stuff in her hands. So it's hard to say like if that really could be an hallucination or not. Again, very, very curious that the random girl had a sprite. I don't know in what context she's gonna pop back up. Same thing with the librarian from last time. It's always suspicious when a random character gets a sprite out of nowhere. I wonder if Fujisaka, like the girl we saw in Italy, I wonder if she was lying about why she was really there. Because the timing is weird, right? We lose sight of Takako, and instantly after we run into Fujisaka, and then Fujisaka leaves, and instantly after we see Takako again. Like the timing is a bit interesting. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I feel like I've got enough information to start making some connections, but I'm just not quite. I'm not hitting on anything right now because I've got a lot of. I feel like I've got a lot of pieces of information that seem like they're relevant, but I'm not. I'm just not really putting stuff together right now. Yeah, I'm not putting stuff together right now. I'll think about it a bit before next time. I mean, for all we know, Narasaki did say like that like sometimes hypnosis just like makes up false memories. So for all we know, everything that we saw after Takako disappeared for the first time, everything after that was just like made up from her memories and didn't actually happen, and she just never found Takako after that. That could just be how it happened. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, gonna stop here for now. I'm getting pretty into the mystery. I mean, my biggest complaint so far is still the Fumi thing. I don't understand why they're not asking Fumi like her opinion on all of this, because I feel like it will answer a lot of questions, but it's fine. But other than that, I'm interested to see where it's gonna go. Also, the whole bit with hypnosis was kind of stupid, but I guess it needed to happen for her to remember, remember that memory. But I don't know, that felt a bit weird, but that's okay. Yeah. I'm into it. But yeah, gonna stop here for now. All right, see you next time.